doing your best to achieve your goals does not mean you have to push yourself over the edge all the time. Your mental health is way more important than your performance reviews, your meetings, your targets, maybe even your salary. You have got to take care of your well-being all the time. I am the Gorgeous Marsh, and this is the Lazy Crusader. Hello, and how are you all doing? I am delighted that you are here once again with me, watching and listening to my insane ramblings. Today's featured video is quite special because it coincides with October being the Mental Health Awareness Month, and just last week, the 10th of October, we celebrated the World Mental Health Day, and I'm sure a lot of you have gotten inputs and have gotten a lot of takeaways in terms of how we can take care of our mental health and stay mentally sane in the middle of all the pressures from work and everyday life. Having said that, I'd also like to be able to share a few things on how permanent home workers or remote workers can look after their mental well-being. But first things first, if you just came across this video and you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you want to get notified of fresh uploads, you might want to also click on the bell icon. Also, I'm active on social media. I'm on Instagram and on Twitter. It's at the Gorgeous Marsh. There's also www.gorgeousmarsh.com if you want to see more of what I'm on about. But on to what I really want to cover, mental health. It's actually a pretty big thing to touch base on. It's a sensitive topic, especially I know that some of you watching may be mentally or emotionally vulnerable at the moment, going through some tough times, suffering from anxiety, depression, whatever that is. So I just want to say that I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm not going to dwell so deeply into a topic that I need to do a full research on. But I'd like to keep things simple and straightforward because I would like to focus on how permanent home workers or remote workers can take care of their well-being, physically and mentally, because they spend a lot of time working on their own. We spend a lot of time working on our own, rather, from the comforts of our home or anywhere outside the office. Now, the thing with working from home is that it's very advantageous to a lot of people, especially to people here in the Philippines where the traffic situation can be utterly horrible. And it gives us a lot of advantages. It's stress-free, it's commute-free, we get to be more comfortable, it's very convenient. And I've actually discussed five of what I think are the most popular advantages of working from home, and it's something that you might want to check out later on. I've previously posted it a couple of weeks ago. But I also said in that video that working from home also comes with its own disadvantages. That we will cover in another episode. But for now, what I want to share with you all is that although we may find it very convenient and very comfortable and stress-free to work from home, it may also pose a risk on our mental health if we do not take care of ourselves. Now, why would I say that? Why would I say that it can also be working from home may also pose a risk on our mental health or our mental well-being? Basically because we are always on our own. There's literally no one around for us to talk with, have a laugh with, or there's no one who would physically give us a pat on our back if we did an excellent job and then some. Sometimes, because it's very comfortable for us to be working on our own, we tend to forgo or overlook things that may be affecting our mental well-being. Especially for those whose nature of work are internet and computer based. We get to be so engrossed with what we do in front of our computers, right in front of our screens, that we sometimes forget that there is something else outside these responsibilities. Also, it could get so boring, it could get so lonely. We may sometimes find ourselves on the brink of feeling isolated and anxious. So how do we make sure that we don't go down that path? How do we make sure that we don't fall on that road? as remote home workers, how do we really look after our physical and, just as importantly, our mental health? Now, to keep things straightforward, and as I said earlier, I'd like to keep it simple. I'd only be talking about 5 of what I think are the most effective ways to make sure that we stay mentally sane as we work from home all the time. Now, I know that there are lots of you who can think loads more of effective ways of staying mentally healthy. Please do not hesitate to share them by putting them in the comments section below. So, number 1 on my list is trying to keep things at bay by following a consistent working schedule and a work pattern. I know a lot of you may not fully agree with me on this, because when you're working from home, you may think that, oh, why would I follow a schedule when I can just work from home anytime I want to, and then stop when I can, and then resume work, or maybe I can work from home all the time because I've got all the time in the world. I'm just at home. That may be okay for some. Maybe that works for some, but for a lot of people, eventually they realize that doing that would not be a very good idea. As I said, I've been freelancing since 2010, and then I got fully employed, and then I was given remote or home working privileges. So I'm a permanent home worker now, but from looking back from when I was freelancing, I used to have that kind of mindset that I don't need to follow a schedule. I've got time in my hands, so I can just work when I want to, as I want to, and when I can. But eventually, after several months of having that kind of habit, it took its toll on me, and I got bored and I got burnt out. So I did a few research, and I realized that it helps if you're set out to work for a certain number of hours in a day. So just like when you're fully employed and you're working in an office, you only work you're only at work for 9 hours, and then 1 hour of that would be your lunch break, and then you get breaks in between, maybe after every 2 hours. So it helps if you follow that kind of routine as well when you're working from home, because it helps you keep things at bay. What you can do is, if you don't want to work for 9 or 8 consecutive hours, you can divide your time, create a timeline for the day, and then put your tasks according to that timeline, and create your personal deadlines. That is going to help. But as you work on a schedule, and as you create this working schedule, this habit, do not forget to take breaks in between. There were researches and there were online write-ups saying that following a Pomodoro technique is good. It's when you set like a certain number of hours that you can work, and then after set an alarm, and then get out of your workstation after that time, and then have a break, and then go back to working again. It's the same thing when you're working in an office. You can work for 2 hours and then have a break, and then resume working after 15 or 20 minutes, and then after 2 hours take your lunch. It's going to help. It keeps the same vibe, and maybe it could work for a lot of us. But when you work from home and you have this timeline, and you're not set out to work for 9 straight hours, for 8 straight hours, you want to divide your tasks throughout the day. That's alright too. But do not forget to take breaks, run, have a quick run. If you live in a subdivision or in a building with a swimming pool, go and swim. You can run quick errands in nearby places. You can have a chat with anyone around, your neighbors, or just anything, just to give you a quick distraction from the pressures of work. Just always keep it in mind to follow a work pattern and make it a habit to follow that schedule, so that you wouldn't have to feel pressured and you wouldn't have to feel like you need to be working all the time. Number 2 is learn when to push back and set boundaries. It's important because sometimes we also have this thinking that, oh, I'm working from home, I can learn new skills and then take everything in because I've got all the time in the world. But that's not good, and that's not advisable as well, because it kind of puts a lot of pressure in our minds. So it's important that once we've created a work pattern or a work schedule for ourselves, let's follow that and not do work outside business. I mean, let's not do work outside business hours. If we're on break, we are on break. So push things back, and do not put so much pressure on yourself to reply to an email that's not even urgent and critical. If it's not a life and death situation, that can wait. Right after your break, if you want to have a look at it and reply, go ahead. So set boundaries for yourself and push back when you think you need more time. Push back on tasks when you need more time. Also, what I also want to talk about in terms of setting boundaries and pushing back is that whenever you are given tasks that you're not skilled to do, you don't have to take it all in. You don't have to accept that task and promise or maybe over-promise that you'd be able to do it. You can have a compromise. If you're working in a team and somebody else is skilled to do that, if you're working in a team and somebody else is skilled to do that, you can ask them to help you with it. You've got lots of options on how it can be done. You can ask them to do it for you while you are watching so you can learn. You can do it while they're, if they've got time, you can do it while they are supervising you or teaching you how to do it. Or you can have it do it for you. You can have them do it for you. Whatever works, as long as you're not taking it all in, if you're not skilled to do it, because it's just added pressure to you, and it's not healthy, it's not good. So push back and set boundaries. Number 3, we need to remember that there is life outside work. So when we're working in an office environment and then we are forced to do overtime, and some of our peers, some of our colleagues, even our managers would see us extend our working hours, they would tell us to go home because there is life outside the office. It's the same thing when you're working from home. When you're working from home, that doesn't mean that you have to work all the time. That doesn't mean that you've got 24 hours at home. You can't be idle. So you just work and work and work. No. There is life outside or away from that desk, and make sure that you maximize that. What you can do is take breaks and keep in mind that just because you're working from home doesn't mean you have to do all your deliverables in one go. Maybe you want to take a full day off the following day and just wait for other tasks to come in and you can just relax. That's okay, but imagine how knackered you're going to be. Imagine how tired you're going to be. It's exhausting if you try to finish everything within that day. So don't work all the time, and also don't work everywhere. If it helps, what I can advise is you set a dedicated space at home that is conducive to productivity and set up your workspace there. I've seen a lot of people working from home who would take their laptops with them in bed, and then eventually after an hour, after 2 hours, they would feel a bit sleepy and then forget about work, and then they would catch up later and start cramming, which is not good. Also, it's a bit prone to error because I've done that in the past. I've had a few mistakes. That was when I was freelancing. When I became a full-time remote worker for the company that I'm working in right now, I have set a dedicated workstation in one of the corners of my flat. So that's all about work. That particular space is all about work. The rest is living space. It's going to work for you. If you live in a big house and you have a spare room, then you can set it up to become a home office. But if you're like me, who live in a studio in a small apartment, just finding a good corner with good lighting, with proper ventilation, maybe near a window, and create a workstation there, invest on a desk, and then everything that has to do with productivity, everything that has to do with work, you can do it there. Also, when you're working from home and you've got a lot of time in your hands, it is a perfect opportunity for you to engage in other activities. You can engage in a hobby, you can enroll in classes, dance classes, acting classes, singing classes, whatever, workshops, whatever it is that will help you divert your attention to something else when you're done working. Do it, because you've got as much time now that you were working from home. Number 4 is equally important, because I've said this earlier on, because you work from home and you're mostly alone all the time. You need to focus. You need to concentrate. There is no usual office buzz. You don't have your colleagues. You don't have your peers physically around you. It could get boring. It could get lonely. Cabin fever may be real anytime soon. So it helps if you have someone to talk to. If you're working with a remote team, if you're working with people abroad, I'm sure there are communication channels that are available for your team. You've got Skype or Skype for Business, you've got Slack, you've got Messenger, you've got a lot of things. Find someone that you can talk to every now and then just to divert your attention to something else, especially if there's already so much pressure building up. If your deliverables are slightly unmanageable and you find it hard to concentrate, that you can use the distraction. So find someone that you can talk to. If it's not your peers, if your peers are busy, if your colleagues are busy, I'm sure you've got WhatsApp, you've got Viber, you've got Messenger, you've got other people that you know, you've got friends that you can talk to, and it helps. Of course, it doesn't beat having someone physically around. So you want to have someone to talk to, and you're living with people at home, you can have a break, get out of your workstation and just have a quick conversation with them. Have a casual chat with the people around you, your neighbor, your family members, whoever that can help you get the distraction that you need and divert your attention to something else before you resume work. If you've got a longer time to spend, you can go out of the house and find a friend, agree with a friend to meet and have a little catch-up session before you go back home and resume working. It helps to have someone to talk to because it's going to help get rid of that feeling of isolation and you won't feel bored and lonely. Now, just as importantly, the last thing that I would recommend, personally, I think this is just as helpful as all of the other four that I've talked about, is know when to switch things up. Wrap it up after several hours of working, and it's directly relevant to your work schedule, and setting boundaries and pushing things back. When you're done for the day, you're done for the day. So this is outside taking breaks in between work. So when you decide to call it a day, wrap things up, switch things off, and then do something else. So you've got a lot of spare time. You can go out. You can spend it with your family. Have a good family meal time where you can actually eat and talk with the rest of the family. Stay away from screens as much as possible. Let's say if you're working on a computer, an internet-based job, as soon as you switch things off, try to stay away from screens as possible. Some of you may disagree with me on this because there are people who find it helpful. It sort of relieves their stress if they're playing games on their mobiles, if they're playing games on the TV, on using a console. But there are also those who find it really useful if they stay away from the screens after a long day in front of the computer. You can also go out with your friends or your spouses. You can spend more time playing with your friends as soon as you switch things off. And most importantly, you will have a lot of time to rest and sleep. So do not compromise the quality of your sleep just because you're working from home. You can sleep anytime. You just need to finish a lot of work and then just sleep after, or maybe catch up on 2 hours to sleep. No. So work for a long time, work for 8 hours, 9 hours, and then switch things off and then do something else. And then when it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep. The quality of our sleep will help keeping not just our mental health, but our physical health in check. And also, when it's time to sleep, it's time to rest and stop worrying. You can worry about your tasks and your pending deliverables the following day, because once you've slept well, you are refreshed and you're ready to face another day at work. That just about sums it up for the day. I hope the things that I said, the things that I covered and touched based on are going to be helpful if we want to keep things at bay and we want to look after our mental well-being. Just to do a recap, I think it's going to be helpful if we have if we follow a certain work schedule and work pattern, and not work from home all the time and take breaks in between. Also, having someone to talk to is going to be helpful, because working from home all the time and being on our own all the time would we become at risk of having that feeling of isolation and loneliness and boredom. Also, we need to learn to push back and set boundaries when we have to, so that we won't have to take all the work in and put so much pressure on ourselves. And then also switch things up, wrap things up, get some rest, because it's going to help us. I'm sure there are a lot of ways, there are a lot of things that you can recommend if we want to stay mentally sane when we work from home all the time. You're welcome to share your thoughts and ideas, and also what you think worked well in this video, and what you reckon I could have done better, and I could have elaborated on more. Again, mental health awareness, or taking care of your mental health, is a broad topic, and it requires a massive research just for me to be able to recommend a lot more. But if you've got things to share, and if you think there's something that I could have discussed more, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And who knows, maybe in the next episode, or maybe in another video, I would be able to cover some more of this. But to wrap things up, let's always strive and try our best not to just do good in our jobs, not to just excel in delivering what is needed of us, but also, more importantly, to look after ourselves, our physical and mental health. Because if we're healthy, if we're physically healthy and we're mentally healthy, we will be able to do these things, and we will be more motivated to achieve our targets and then some. But here's the thing: if you feel that things are falling apart, if you feel that it's not working for you, and working from home is sort of taking its toll on you because you were unable to manage things very well, so you feel anxious, you have this certain feeling that you feel that your strings are being pulled and you feel like you're going to break at any time, please do not hesitate to seek help. What you can do at first is you can find someone you trust that you can talk to. It may help because they may be able to give you proper advice, or they will just be there to listen to you, whatever it is that you want to solve them, especially if it all comes together. The pressures of work and then your personal struggles. If that happens and you feel you're unable to keep things together, find someone that you can trust and talk to them and have them listen to you. But if it goes any further, please do not be embarrassed to seek help by calling a helpline or consulting a professional, because that's the way to go. Consulting a professional is not embarrassing. You shouldn't be ashamed of yourself for talking to someone about your mental health, because you just want to be healthy. Remember, and this has been said by a lot of people, I've also said this, it's okay not to be okay. It's not going to hurt if we love ourselves more, and if we want to take care of ourselves more, so that we can become better. In fact, I think it's going to help us in a massive way if we're falling apart and we try to seek help from a professional. When we're physically and mentally healthy, we can do a lot more, and we can do a lot of better things. So thank you once again for sharing your time with me, and spending it watching this video and listening to my ramblings. I hope you have had good takeaways, and again, I'm sure there's lots of you who can share with others, so please feel free to initiate a discussion in the comment section and share whatever it is that you feel like sharing in terms of taking care of yourself, particularly your mental well-being as you work from home all the time. Let me know your 2 cents in the comment section as well, and find out more about me on Twitter and on Instagram. It's @thegorgeousmarsh. Also, the text version of this video I'm going to be posting on my blog, so please feel free to visit www.gorgeousmarsh.com. Once again, this has been your lazy crusader, the Gorgeous Marsh. Thank you, and I will see you all on the next video. Bye! Just to give you a peek of where I'm shooting this video at. Yeah, that's the Metro Manila Skyway I'm at the Sky Lounge of the building where I live in. It's 2 floors down from my flat. And this is where I go to if I want to relax and have a breather, if I feel like there's a lot of things already going on at work. This is also where I take breaks. I just come down here to relax. Sometimes I meet new people, get acquainted with them, and have a small chat before I resume working. I also swim every day. That serves as my virtual commute. Before, I swim for about a half hour to 40 minutes, and which again serves as my some sort of commute before I get started in a full day's work. More than that, I just want to encourage everyone to seek help when they need to. I've been through a tough week last week. It's been tricky for me. I've been involved in an incident where my anxiety levels have shot up. So, and it wasn't good. That's why I felt like I wasn't in any position to shoot this video and touch base on taking care of your mental health, because I was a bit shaken. But thanks to my friends, thanks to the people that I love who reached out to me and made me feel like it's only going to get better. I appreciate that, and I felt valued, and I felt like there's so much more than just this anxiety. It's the lie. It's just a lie from some monster. But I've also sought help from professionals. I've called our company's employee care hotline just to make sure that everything is still in check with me, and it's not going to get any worse. So I'm all better now. I'm not really good as in perfect the way I was before it all happened last week, but I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there. So what I can actually recommend, in line with observing the World Mental Health Month, or the Mental Health Awareness Month, is that if you feel like you're on the verge of breaking down, you're about to fall apart, find someone that you can trust, someone that you have the confidence in to talk to, and have them listen to you, and then also seek professional help. Thank you so much. It's nearly dinner time now, and I'm a bit starving, so I'm going to see you in the next video. Thank you again. Bye bye.